Vanna White, the TV icon known for her Wheel of Fortune show, is known not only for her radiant smile and graceful demeanor on stage, but also for the mysteries surrounding her life behind the camera lens. Few people know that her journey is a series of dramatic ups and downs. From causing a stir with her daring photos appearing in Playboy magazine, to her romantic relationships with big stars in the entertainment industry. In today's video, we will explore the little-known stories about the woman who was once known as the ultimate muse of television at that time. According to Liza Greer, a familiar face at Hollywood parties in the 1980s, Vanna White was not only a gentle icon on television, but also had a much wilder and more unrestrained past than the public image often portrayed. Greer recalls a night at the Playboy Mansion, where time seemed to stand still amid the smoke and disco music blaring from the pool area. "I thought Vanna White was different from what people thought," she shares. "She looked innocent, but when she was with me, she was completely different," recalls Liza Greer, her eyes still sparkling with mischief as she talks about the past. According to Greer, in the glamorous and seductive world of Hollywood, a bisexual lifestyle was not uncommon, especially at the Playboy Mansion, which was considered a paradise of unlimited fun. Greer revealed to Radar Online that, although Vanna White always maintains a pure image in public, she is actually often present at lavish parties where discreet same-sex relationships are not uncommon. At the time, Vanna was not only a rising TV sweetheart, but also the fiancée of John Gibson, the actor who had made a splash on The Young and the Restless as Jerry Kman. Gibson was also a sex symbol of his time, having appeared on the cover of Playgirl magazine in 1975. The couple was considered the epitome of Hollywood, a love story that was as beautiful as a dream. Greer recalls a seemingly ordinary evening when Vanna invited her over to her house. Like a gentleman, John quietly left the house to buy cigarettes, leaving the two women alone. When the door closed behind John Gibson, everything seemed preordained. There was no need for any explanation, Liza Greer recalls, her voice a mixture of nostalgia and amazement. "She was so captivating, and the connection between us was undeniable. It was instinctive. What happened behind the bedroom door that day was more than a spur of the moment. It wasn't a momentary curiosity," Greer says, but something deeper. Vanna's every move was confident, seductive, and competent. "She wasn't naive or hesitant," Greer says. "She knew exactly what she was doing." For Greer, it was like discovering a volcano beneath the snow, unexpected, intense, and irresistible. But that connection, passionate as it was in the dark, could not survive in the light of day. Not long after that night, a quiet distance began to form. Vanna, the woman who had once bravely pursued her desires, now seemed to be retreating. Perhaps she realized that the image of America's sweetheart she had built up did not allow for such hidden corners to exist in public. The image of America's sweetheart that Vanna White had worked so hard to build over the years clearly could not go hand in hand with a rebellious past. The 1980s were a time when even a slight deviation from social norms could ignite public opinion and destroy a career. Since that fateful night, Vanna's awkward silence whenever she encountered Liza Greer served as a silent reminder of the memories they had shared. To protect her reputation, the role of the perfect TV hostess, Vanna chose to keep quiet, burying everything in the past. Ironically, while maintaining a calm, proper public image, her private life was riddled with loss. Just when her love story with John Gibson seemed to have a happy ending, tragedy struck. He died in a plane crash. Vanna bravely shared that pain with the audience, but her own chapter with Liza Greer was forever locked away, a story that has never been fully told. Now, in a more open and tolerant society, Vanna White's journey has become a moving testament to the price of fame, where personal choices sometimes come at the cost of buried truth and feelings. In an era where moral standards govern almost every aspect of public life, Vanna White is not just a television icon. She is also a young woman forced to choose between her inner truth and the image that society expects. And she is not alone. Many women of her generation have had to bury their true selves to survive in an entertainment industry with harsh, hidden rules. Recent revelations from a documentary produced by ND are gradually peeling back the glitzy shell of the Playboy Mansion, once considered a haven of luxury and partying, to reveal a hidden stage where many lives were suffocated in silence. In that context, Vanna's silence is no longer seen as weakness, but as an act of survival for a woman who dares to step into a world that has no place for fragility. One of the most shocking revelations from the documentary is Pig Night, a real ritual held periodically at the Playboy Mansion. The name sounds like a vulgar joke, but in fact it is a ritual that most clearly reflects the deviation and dehumanization in a world that seems to be full of glamour. Under the direct control of Hugh Hefner, Pig Night is not simply a wild party as many rumors say. It is a meticulously choreographed ritual where instinctual desires are disguised as luxury, and both morality and law seem to be left out of the door, locked by power and influence. Every Thursday night, a carefully selected guest list, from A-list stars, powerhouse producers, politicians to tycoons, gathers at the lavish mansion. The women recruited from high-class brothels were not only to satisfy the lust of the elite, but also to be turned into tools for a dark ritual of possession and domination, where the male ego was worshipped to an almost sacred level. Pig Night was not just a derogatory nickname for the women brought there, but a dark symbol of moral decadence, something legitimized by fame and fortune. Famous names such as Jack Nicholson with his piercing eyes hidden behind a cloud of cigarette smoke, Rod Stewart with his rock and roll smile, or Sylvester Stallone on such evenings, all appeared as part of a lavish but chillingly cold picture. At the height of their fame and physical stature, Sylvester Stallone, along with the likes of Jack Nicholson and Rod Stewart, were more than just regulars at those lavish evenings. They were part of an ecosystem that helped maintain the secrecy surrounding the debauched nights behind the gates of the Playboy Mansion. For some, it was a sign of personal freedom. For others, it was a line they could never cross, a line they quietly retreated to, whisperings that would never be heard. When Liza Greer, who witnessed and participated in the affair, decided to expose it all in her memoir You'll Never Love in This Town Again, the public got their first chilling glimpse into the contrast between Hollywood legend and the dark reality that lurked behind the spotlight. She recounts the sleepless nights, the blank stares, and the emptiness of being the chosen one, a moment when she no longer recognized who she was. Vanna White, who would become a national television icon, also appeared in stories that forced people to reflect on the true price of fame. Before becoming a familiar face on the show Wheel of Fortune, Vanna White was just a young girl lost in the vast city of Los Angeles, carrying a fragile dream and an empty suitcase. In the late 1970s, she had no stable place to live, nor the courage to call home to ask her father for money. In times of hardship, Vanna agreed to take sexy photos, not out of rebellion, but simply to survive. Those forgotten photos of the past suddenly resurfaced just as she began to become famous. Overnight, she was no longer seen as a talented presenter, but as the girl in the nude photos, an image that was scrutinized under the spotlight of primetime television. Back then, the public did not care about context or desperation. Hollywood easily forgives powerful men who get into trouble, but is harsh on women who make mistakes in their youth. Vanna White is one of those women. However, there is one thing that the spotlight cannot overshadow: her resilience. She did not speak up loudly, did not write a memoir that exposed everything, but chose to be strong in silence. And it is from that silence, from the smile that is always present over the years, that she has asserted herself. Through thousands of episodes, Vanna White has no need for excuses. She has chosen the strongest response possible, not only overcoming the storm, but also standing firm and shining brightly. She has overcome prejudice, becoming an irreplaceable part of American popular culture for more than 3 decades. The past can never be erased, and there are doors that will probably remain closed forever. But Vanna has proven one thing: sometimes, all it takes is a persistent smile to weather the storm of judgment and make the world look at a woman in a completely different light, a light filled with respect. However, Hollywood has always had a cruel paradox. The place that celebrates female beauty is also the place that punishes women who sacrifice their youth and innocence just to survive. For Vanna, the sexy photos she took during her most desperate period should have stayed in the past. But right when she reached the peak of her fame and Wheel of Fortune, that past was resurrected, copied, and exposed on the cover of Playboy as a visual commodity for the world to consume. The thing is, Vanna was never a Playboy model. But what she did to survive was distorted and commercialized in the name of entertainment, a price that too many women in the entertainment industry have had to pay. Although she never signed a commercial contract for the early photos, that didn't stop Hugh Hefner, who was once a public friend of Vanna White's, from using her image to sell magazines and cement his place in a culture that viewed women's bodies as consumer goods. At the most fragile moment in her career, Vanna was pulled from her role as a charming talk show host and turned into a sex symbol not by choice but by someone else. When she confronted Hefner, she didn't ask for money, she just wanted sympathy. But when that was refused, she sued, not just to seek justice, but to tell the world, "I don't agree." Then George Santo Pietro entered her life like a gentle breeze, no noise, no scandal, just stability. The marriage between a film producer and a national television host was not only a dream come true, but also a symbol of rebirth for a woman who had lost everything. In the home they built together, Vanna was no longer a victim of her past. She was a mother, a wife, and an irreplaceable icon of American television. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe to watch the next videos. Thank you and see you again.